All right. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the keynote address and final presentation of Nova New Hampshire's 19th Annual Winter Conference with Mr. Mukhtar Idhow on making food, opportunities, and communities accessible, affordable, and equitable inside the work of ORIS. We're excited to hear from Mr. Idhow in just a few minutes. And before we get started, I'd like to just quickly go over the workshop format. I'm Nikki Kolb, Nova New Hampshire's Operations Manager, and I'll be moderating this session with fellow NOFA staff members, Chadley Kolb, Laura Angers, and our board president, Laura Hartz. Hi, thank you. And we're asking everyone to please keep yourselves muted during the workshop and to type your questions into the chat box throughout the discussion. And we'll read out your questions when we get to the Q&A portion of the session. And please note we're recording this presentation. We've recorded all of the workshop sessions throughout the weekend, and they'll be made available to you after the conference. I'd also like to thank our generous Winter Conference sponsors for helping to make this possible. And they are Stonyfield Organic, BCM Environmental and Land Law, High Mowing Organic Seeds, Main Street Bookends of Warner, Pete and Jerry's Organic Eggs, Revision Energy, and Taproot Magazine. And now I'm delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Mukhtar Idhow, Executive Director of the Organization for Refugee and Immigrant Success. Welcome, Mukhtar. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So my name is, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope to that you will enjoy our presentation for this evening. As you've been told, my name is Mukhtar Idhow, Executive Director for ORIS. This evening, I would like to walk you through about the work of ORIS. Very briefly, I'd like to highlight some news, unusual and surprising, be emotional and give you a reason to like what we do, and also provide unifying message for what's to come. So my objective is to meet three of these goals. Next slide. Actually, next page. All right. So coming to United States as a former refugee myself, I've grown up in a family farm back home. I was born in Somalia, living at the refugee camp, worked with some farmers. Coming to United States, we had no idea of what percentage of farmers were immigrants in the United States. Not until when we started and integrated ourselves to identify the US agricultural system that we found out that 73% of farmers in the United States are immigrants. Surprisingly, though, that data also indicated only 4% of those farmers were immigrants. So those were challenges that we were working with as we started engaging into the farm program, working with refugee immigrants. Next slide. The next one, actually. All right. We believe that in the refugee community, and I know this is the same in our society, that skills, culture, and business experiences that refugees and immigrants bring to this country are vital for their economic integration and local food security. A lot of refugees have stayed longer at the refugee camp. An example, I've been in the DAP for 30 years, had no access to healthy food, would be limited to food that were given out by United Nations High Commission for Refugee. Coming here, it was important that refugees get access to healthy food. And the primary focus of ORIS's targeting to start a farm program was to create an environment in which we can use the skills and the expertise of refugees here in which they can also share and provide access to food to a lot of communities. Next slide. And in doing that, we have identified and found that we have a data actually to prove, starting the farm program in New Hampshire. We have been operating under our experience back home, but also looking at ways to integrate into the new system, US, where different part of the country has different season. New England has been surprising for a lot of refugee women. The season is short, 3 months snow, summer. So a lot of challenges that we have been trying to overcome. Next slide. So ORIS, for a background, started under the name Somali Bantu Association. At the time when we founded this organization, 2004 and 3, there was a significant number of Somalis Bantus coming into the state. Somali Bantus were considered by US government as minority group that have been tortured in Somalia, have been in the refugee camp for almost 15, 20 years. It was essential that having that large number of groups coming into the community, that there be ethnic community-based organization like ORIS available to provide essential services. Specifically access to healthcare. A lot of refugees didn't have access to healthcare the same way they didn't have access to food and security in the country. So Somali Bantu Association's major goal at the time was support that particular ethnic group called Somali Bantu Association. Next slide. That seems to be me, who had at the time started as a volunteer to create the Somali Bantu Association. I'm also a Somali Bantu by ethnicity. Somali Bantu, for those of you that don't know, is an ethnic group that lives Somalia. A lot of people categorize people in Somalia as Somalis, but in Somalia we have different ethnic groups, and this is one group that actually they speak language called Mai, which is a dialect officially spoken by the Somali Bantus, even though the country uses Somalia as a national language. Next slide. So I talked about history of Somali Bantu Association, and now ORIS, Organization for Refugee and Immigrant Success. We changed the name because after 204 and 203 and 204, we started receiving another group of refugees. Congolese started coming in. The needs of each refugees was similar. The Somali Bantu Association at the time was available to help all refugees, but because of the name, some refugees were hesitant to come in for services because they thought that was specific for only Somalis. The board of the organization met and decided that we will change the name to reflect that we're available for all refugees, given that the nature of needs for each group has been different, has been the same. So we became ORIS in 2009, and then later have matched with the New African Americans. Not until actually 2 years ago, New African Americans was based in Concord, providing similar services to the Concord refugees. The association being the largest ethnic community-based organization in the state, had a discussion with the board of New African Americans, that's what NNA stands, to consolidate the program so that we can use the limited resources more efficiency to provide services to a larger number of refugees throughout the state. Next slide. Fresh Start Farm, CD Mohammed, the picture here is in Story Farm, Hill Road. CD actually is from a family farm businesses. His father had 100 acres of farm in Somalia, grew up in a farm. Coming here, the only dream he has is where can you find a farm? So it was a life-changing for him, one, to be in the United States and two, be exposed to expertise that he had in Somalia, that he can become a farmer through the connection that ORIS has established. Fresh Start Farm is a brand that we use to market the produce grown by the ORIS farmers. Next slide. So Fresh Start Farm is collective brand for new American farmers. Our program, through support from USDA, Beginning Farmer and Rancher, local food promotion and farmers market promotion, provides legal, technical and legal marketing assistance, land access and infrastructure, aggregation and distribution services to new Americans who are in the program. Next slide. So in 2008, when we started the program, we started in a minimum capacity. We had no access to land. We actually, at one time, had some agreement with Roger Noon's farm in Newmarket, where we will have some farmers work a couple hours for him. In exchange, he will offer access to small plot, because the refugee farmers were desperate to start farming. ORIS had no capacity to get access to land at the moment. We were focused on case management, employment, and access to health care. As time moved on, we had established a relationship with the Story Hill farm owner. Couple owned that farm who were sisters. The site is 58 acres. At the time, we were only using 4 acres of the whole 58 acres. It started as a lease. Those couples were interested. What was more important to them was giving access to land to refugee and immigrants population. In fact, at the start of the land access discussion, there was some pushback from the town of Danbury for people who didn't want to see immigrants around the neighborhood, and that they were taking their lands away. The couples had to engage with the community. We had to host couple sessions with the neighborhoods there to explain actually the difference between legal and illegal immigrants. Refugee program is a federal program under our law, and that there is a system in place to vet refugees overseas before they come. It takes between 1 to 3 years before individuals are come to United States, and share some of the stories of people who are in the refugee camps and why they left their home country. And the environment has just changed dramatically, and people came out to support us using that site. So it was a little bit of teamwork, and we appreciated those that participated in support of us. Next slide. So Story Hill Farm, we farmed there for about 3 years before the couple decided that they wanted to sell the farm to ORIS so that we can actually have a permanent use of the site. Because over the course of the 3 years that we were using that site, there was some uncertainty. We couldn't do any infrastructure, not knowing how long we will be based there. For farmers in the winter, when we sit down with individual farmers to do a business plan assessment, they will be hesitant to spend investment in the farm because they don't know whether that's a year lease or how long we will be. So the couples decided that they were willing to help ORIS get access to that land. We purchased the land in 2018, starting to build up infrastructure. Actually, before we purchased, and this elaborates how refugee immigrants love farming. People used to get water from their homes, bring to the farm, because we had no wells at the time. When we purchased, we've been able to work with the Natural Resource Conservation, raise some money to establish a well infrastructure, made a road available, build the greenhouses there. We brought electricity, wash station, road work, and tractor. You cannot imagine how that Story Hill Road farm looks now than it looked 5-6 years ago, and it's been um, because of the support of the community, strength of our refugee immigrant farmers who were actually willing to be patient as we looked a way to get a permanent access to land, and the work of many of ORIS's team who have given their best to make sure that our clients had access to land. And we were very grateful to be the owner now of the 58 acres in Dunbarton Road. We have now 6 greenhouses. We have just renovated 2 additional acres, which we've been doing a feasibility study to establish a goat project in there. A lot of East African people love goat meat. They actually travel out of state to buy goats in Massachusetts and Maine. One of the things that ORIS was considering is establish a livestock project in Story Hill Farm now that we own, which will expand the business enterprise for individual farmers. So we're very grateful. That on my left is the site at the Story Hill Farm where we currently use. Only 7 acres of this are used for production. There are significant space that would be available if cleaned and soil work being done. On the right hand side, that's the road. But even beyond that, we just cleaned 2 additional acres. So that's our base of operation right now. Next slide. These are wonderful ladies. To my left is Isha Mohammed, has been in the program for 7 years. Next is her aunt, Asli. Khadija Aliyo to my right. I've enjoyed working. They're all Somalis. They've been farmers back home, coming to United States. Just having to sit home and watch kids was kind of isolation for them. They wanted to be engaged, be more, feel like they're important, they're bringing something to the table, bringing fresh food to their family, but also generating some income to support the family. So I think bringing them on to start the agriculture program has established an environment in their household that they are a part of the decision-making process in their family, and that their kids have more access to healthy food than they did before they started farming. So I'm so proud to have been part of this initiative. Next slide. Here is another side. I think that's one of also our farmers. That's a greenhouse where people do some seedling before they start the season. They grow tomatoes a lot, and sometimes corn. We try to tell them that corn uses more space. So we've been working with the NRCS to establish training in which the farmers can actually decide whether they want to spend more space for corn, which may not bring as much money as other producers that has market, but they also know that the ethnic corn has a market in their own community. We saw people coming all the way from Connecticut just to buy ethnic corn from our farmers. So tomatoes there, you will see them selling in their community on their own, but it's been amazing. Next slide. Husband and wife, Kamis and his wife have been farmers. They all, they both own a separate half an acres in Story Hall Farm. Here is them preparing produce for the farmers market. And that, I think, to the next to Kamis is his plot in Dunbarton Story Hill Farm. Next slide. So we use a lot of, we use additional space in Concord. Total of, right now we have 24 farmers. 14 of those are in Concord. We've been partnering with the St. Paul School. They gave us about 6 acres of space they have at St. Paul School. Been very grateful for their support. Some of the things that we did there was build infrastructure like wash station, road work, and good tractor for those, primarily those farmers in Concord are Congolese, Rwandese, and we had one Bhutanese in there. Not have not been in the program longer as the ones in Dunbarton, but in the last couple of years have been very engaged. Next slide. Here's Botulo on my left with her kids and another individual farmers. They love, Botulo love farming. Actually, she started, in addition to her farm, she started making some food. She makes sambusa. I don't know if you guys know, but goes to businesses around the downtown area. And one of her business plan right now is to get food truck where she can expand her business. So it just shows how energetic our farmers are and uses her family effort to do. She's working full time while still farming. So very strong woman. Next slide. Here is more of our farmers from Concord selling some of the produce grown in St. Paul School. A lot of the Congolese grow African eggplant. It sells good in their community. They make more money. They participate at farmers market at Second Start and sell twice a week and sell more with EPTs than even the whole farmers in Dunbarton combined sell in Manchester farmers market. So that shows you that they have a lot of communities coming in. One of the things that we were able to establish and have people benefit is we work with the Granite State Matching Program, which provides incentive that doubles every dollar you spend from your EPT card, you get $1 match. So a lot of low income families with food stamp have the opportunity to come and buy local ground food. If they spend $10 from the EPT card, they get $20 worth of food. So that program has been encouraging low income communities to come and purchase local grown food, which has not been the case in the past. So the data that's reflected that more low income communities are participating in the farmers market now than ever, because before they thought the farmers market produce are more expensive, cheaper to go to Walmart or Market Basket than go to the farmers market. The double voucher program has made a lot of difference, which is good because we have now more food, more healthy food available in low income community than has ever been. Next slide. All right. So we are now having conversation with St. Paul School. They did express also that they would love to see a long time access to land. St. Paul School has been a 1-year lease based. We've been very grateful. The last couple of weeks, they've been willing to have at least 5 years of lease agreement with us as we explore the option of, if possible, even purchasing another similar site as Dumbarton in the Concord area for those Concord farmers. We're adding electricity, road work in the Dunbarton site, which just now in the process of partnering Energy Vision to establish a solar project in Dunbarton Farm that will benefit about 150 low-income housing with the energy saving. We cannot do that in Concord because the project has to work with Eversource, and Concord uses different energy companies. So, but I think either way, we believe that as much as the Dumbarton farmers and the people in Manchester and Nashua, low-income families benefit directly, the Concord farmers will benefit indirectly because some of the saving will be applied to the food hub operation, which will reduce the cost of farmers' expenses in participating our food hub program. Next slide. So our overall goal is promote land tenure. Farmers once owned land that was taken. Each move invokes trauma and security, and asset building will empower self-sufficiency for themselves and generate generations to come. So no land, no farms, no food. That's what we normally say when we have our winter workshop. people recognize that because we see a lot of families share their story, whether they are farmers or families that are related to the farmers. Um, we've been using a model in which our farmers sometimes, when they have access to more food, they will donate to the food bank, which then provides those food to low-income families that have not been able to have access to food. So, and that all those will not have been possible if there were no access to land. If there were land and no farmers, no food would have been grown. So these three are like need each other. Next slide. So farmers enterprise, because of the objectives of the organization, one is access to healthy food by low-income community. Two is self-sufficiency by making farmers generate income to support their families. Our program was focused on how can we have more food available for our community. How can these wonderful women who are more energetic in farming can generate some income to support their family. So the program total 158 cash in 2020 with average farmer net profit of about 5,000 cash in their hand, which is amazing. Some farmers purchased. We had a total of at least 4 cash purchased. A lot of the refugee and immigrants were hesitant to open bank accounts. We were able to advise, if you want to establish a good farm business enterprise, it's essential that you open bank account. It does not affect if you receive Medicaid. You just have to disclose if you have funds in there. If you are at the point that you are self-sufficient, that your bank account reflects a revenue that may cut off your Medicaid, then you don't need Medicaid. So they were able to understand, and they opened bank accounts. The ability to balance full-time jobs with farm businesses has been challenging for some farmers. We've seen some farmers balance their job schedule. Some are taking part-time job because they want to make more money at the farm. The food hub opportunity that we established in 2020 added new value and micro enterprise opportunity beyond farming. So the farmers are now more even engaged than they have been in the past. Next slide. So farmers have created supply for ethnic crops. As I mentioned, some of the crops that they plant is a specific crop that they think has a demand in their community, like the African eggplant, the African corn, that sells a lot, that isn't available in other stores in the community. We had about 167 new American families purchased culturally appropriate food for Fresh Start farmers, 15,000 pounds grown, over 36,000 K in transactions, weekly pop-up of farm stands at the Morning Stars. This was as a result of the mobile market. We've been able to increase our mobile market stops from 6 in 2019 to 14 in 2020, which means that more low-income families got access to food that didn't have access to food in 2019. Morning Star also has been one of the locations in where a lot of low-income families participated, community with good food and good relationship. I think not only people were coming to buy food, but the opportunity for refugee and immigrants to engage with the non-immigrants population who will come to say hi or buy food from refugee farmer at the farmers market. That socialization has been amazing, especially in 2020 and 19, where the country's tension about immigrant has been high. A lot of people were hesitant to come out and have a conversation with their neighbor. I think the ability for the organization to establish this more farm stands where we will have our track high school kids that we will use as ambassadors to communicate with the neighborhood, not only immigrants, but non-immigrants created an environment that people were comfortable, that not what's happening at the national level to some degree wasn't similar in what was happening in our local, that our community were loving. People will come sometimes to the farmers market and say, hey, thank you for being available to sell food to us. We're not representative of those people who are talking about immigrants. We love you guys here. That kind of environment has created a very good atmosphere in our population, not only those who participate in our program, but also in the general community. So in one way, we see the farm stands and the farmers market, not only the ability for farmers to sell food, but an integration aspect of the community where farmers can meet people other than their own community. And a lot of them have met friends. And now we established a page in which individuals who have met friends can have their customers sign the CSA directly with the individual farmer, then going through ORIS, because that's somebody that particular farmer has established relationship with during the course of the marketing season. Next slide. So food security is a major issue in New Hampshire, and we have seen that during the COVID-19 issue in 2020 and a little bit of 2019. The food hub and food hub market and mobile market are part of the Granite State market match, which I explained earlier, which is the double voucher program that's subsidized. It's a USDA funded program that is targeting people with food stamp get access to healthy, locally grown food by participating at the farmers market and farm stand, so that they can get the dollar doubled by dollar by having access to food stamp. We were participating at the Senior Farmers Market Promotion Program, which is managed by the state. So we will enroll our farmers in that program and then deliver food to the seniors. We worked with community action agents here in Manchester with Southern New Hampshire Services, which actually has been our physical agents before ORIS become independently as a 501c3 organization. Donations and network focused on new American communities. We appreciate the community support. We've been receiving a lot of donations for people who actually wanted us to buy food and just distribute for free to those communities who may not have the income that will allow them to buy food. So we've done about 2487 SNAP transaction and 8,000 pounds of food donated to our communities in general between Concord, Manchester, and Nashua for 2020. Next slide. So in 2020, average of farmers' income grew by 114%. I think a lot had to do with the mobile market. We had increased our CSA membership from 58 in 2019 to 220 in 2020. That was a big jump. We did a home delivery to about 180 customers. A lot of seniors have been signing up for our CSA because of the COVID-19. Seniors were risk in being exposed to a public venue. So the ability for them to stay home was in their best interest, and for us to provide food at their home door while still making money for our farmers, but at the same time taking care of seniors has been a great pleasure of Fresh Start Farm to be available in the community when needs were there. So CSA membership up 4 times. We've never hit 220 CSA customers. So 2020 has been a great year in one aspect, even though COVID-19 has done a lot of damage in the community. But for us to come together as community, whether it's our individual farmers who will give it to their best to grow food, that's why we had the food we needed, the organizational staff who are composed of bilingual and other staff that were available 7 days a week to deliver food to homes of our seniors across the state, communities who have been donating to give free food to our community. We just have come together and in one way come stronger to fight with the impacts of the COVID-19. And we're just grateful for that. Next slide. So early in 2020, ORIS expanded its aggregation distribution service to adapt to COVID-19 growing food insecurity and demand for high quality. Here's a look at how we did it. Okay, next slide. That's our big van with the help of Harvard Pilgrim and New Hampshire Children's Health Foundation that allowed us to go around the community. Senior centers, public housing, low income. One of the sites, new sites we established in 2020 was our food hub area, 150 Spruce Street. Around that neighborhood, we have two elementary school, Beach Street, which has significant refugee and immigrants population, and then Wilson Street. So all of that neighborhood is occupied by refugee and immigrants population who are defined as low income. So the ability for us to be open there 1 day a week to serve those community has been amazing. So 20 weeks of operation, Manchester and Concord, we focused on low to moderate income housing development, 177 stops, 2487 transactions, 15,000 pounds of food distributed the course of 2020. Next slide. Here is one of our low-income public housing where we had our farmers market. These are wonderful kids. We use them as ambassadors to communicate because some of our farmers do not speak English well. Some also mothers have challenges with the teenagers at home. The program was designed, one, for these kids to act as liaisons between our farmers and the neighborhood, in which some of those neighborhoods may not be immigrants population. The ability for them to communicate and knock doors, call people to come out to buy, while still practicing social distancing, providing masks to those who don't have it, but also the farmers interacting with these kids has been amazing. So this has been a great experience for us, just to see our seniors come down, get their food, go back home, limit the risk of them going to Market Basket or Walmart and be exposed to population. The farmers were very happy. Seniors appreciated about the opportunity, and I'm grateful for the staff that have been able to implement that. Next slide. The Fresh Start Food Hub, as I said, started in 2020. The organization has been doing strategic planning. One, how can we increase revenue for our farmers? The long-term goal. We worked with NeighborWorks, which is a housing development organization in Manchester. They had a space available in Spruce Street. Actually, that space had been a par, and a lot of the activity that has been happening there wasn't admired by the neighborhood around that area. Some of those neighborhoods are immigrants who struggle on how they will prevent their kids being involved in bad, and to see that building used for some bad activity has been challenging. So we decided maybe we can make this building do better things for the community, and a food hub could not be could be the best. So we started discussing with the NeighborWorks. We made an arrangement to have lease to own agreement with them for that building, and created a pilot food hub for 2019, where the farmers initially, we will go to the farm and buy food from the farmers, and then use the Fresh Start Farm brand to sell it for them. Last year, it was just easier. The farmers will deliver food to the food hub. Staff will already have sold those through the CSA and then create an invoice to all individual farmers. And then we just hired a part-time driver who will deliver food through a cargo van across the state. And then also have food mobile market outside of the building. We do anticipate to create a retail site within that space this year through a grant from foundation from the feds, just to be available for that neighborhood. So that building could not be the best building in that neighborhood. And we saw a lot of families coming to say, you know, you made our day. Kids coming to visit the site, families coming with the EBT card to buy food at the mobile market, CSA customers coming to pick up food from that space, and people driving, giving us their car horns to say thank you because this space has changed, was just amazing. We've developed a commercial kitchen in there, walk-in cooler. One of the things that has increased our capacity is in the past, we didn't have anywhere to store food, so we will harvest a limited food this today for delivery for the same day. We are now able to store a 3 days out of food in the same food hub operation because we have 2 walk-in coolers in there. Farmers will deliver, we pack them, we store them there. The drivers will be delivering, 2 days in a row to different sites in the state. So that has changed our a lot in our ability to sell more, to store more, to serve more community. We moved to CSA online, customized shares, partnered with other farmers' diversity offerings. We reached to a point where our farmers alone were not able to produce the amount of food we needed to deliver. So we partnered with the local farmers to buy from them so we can sell it, which had kept our local food partnership in the state. That was also one. To my left is the building that we are on track to purchase fully in the next couple of years. We've been able to raise the building itself, costed us over $300,000. We have raised so far over $170,000 of the total cost of the building, and hoping that by the end of this year we may fully own that. If that is done, we will significantly reduce the burden of paying expenses of rental in that building, which is now currently at $2,500. And we think that if the building is owned, it will reduce the expenditures in there, which will increase the revenue take home of each individual farmer. So our farmers will be financially better off than they are now without paying any rent in that space. So our goal is pay off this, increase farmers' revenue, build a lot of infrastructure there to serve more than we served in 2020. Next slide. Inside the building here, that's our commercial kitchen packaging area. Over my right is the front side, Fresh Start Farm Food Hub. When you're driving on Lake Ave and on Spruce Street, that's the sign you see. It used to be a bar and club, and now it's a Fresh Start Farm Food Hub. That in it itself is a positive impact in our neighborhood. So we're so proud to be part of that initiative too. Next slide. Here you go. Very great teamwork. Jameson is our food hub operation manager, packaging with one of the students who does ambassadors with us during the summer when there's no school. These are foods that our farmers have delivered. Jameson and his team will package, put them in the walk-in cooler. In the morning, it's ready for delivery by drivers to our neighborhoods and outside of the city for CSA customers pickup. We will not have been able to do what we did in 2020 without this space. So we were so grateful for the opportunity. Next slide. Fresh Start Farm weekly schedule. Here it is. We operated under a full week schedule in 2020, hoping to do the same, if not more, in 2021. We actually have more infrastructure now than we didn't have in 2020. We are purchasing our own refrigerated vehicle, which we didn't have in 2020. We'll be able to store food in our own vehicle and deliver it without putting it in the walk-in cooler. We're adding additional walk-in cooler in our food hub through a federal grant. We'll be able to store more food capacity. We've increased the capacity of CSA signups. And last year we cut off the cap by 250. This year, our goal is 350 because of more capacity. We're in the now process of hiring 2 drivers, which in last year we only had part-time. So it's just amazing how things shaped up, the ability for refugee and immigrants. It all comes down to how much is our community able to help each other. Refugee and immigrants, farmers, growing food, giving access to health food to our low-income communities, but also serving our seniors at this challenging time. At the same time, generating income to support both the organization and the farmers. As you know, refugee program the last couple of years has faced a lot of challenges. A lot of the discretionary funding that has been coming to the state that used to support refugee resettlement programs has been cut off. The organization mainly was dependent on the revenue generated by the Fresh Start Farm. In addition to what is being paid to the farmers, we were still being able at least to pay electricity and some of the expenditures to operate in that office. Otherwise, a lot of organizations have shut down their doors because there wasn't just a funding available. So hopefully that will change, but I think farm program has been the backbone of ORIS for both helping individual farmers, community access to food, but also the organization's ability to survive through this challenging time so we can be able to continue what we do in our community. Next slide. Food Hub in 2020, 2018, 22 cash in 2020, 300,000 cash. Choice delivery options are important to consumers. Increased opportunity to grow enterprise. 472 families served. 98,000 pounds grown, 75 cash to partner producers and Hubs New Hampshire Food Hub Network, help from strong partnership. So all of this establishment happened because of the Food Hub. So it just shows 10 years ago where Fresh Start Farm was a small subcontract from another farm program in Portland, Maine, had only 1 staff, 5 farmers who will work for Roger Nuno's farm to get access to land, to where we are now, 58 acres of land owned, 24 individual farmers generating revenue, supporting the organization and the community. Is just a day and night. And I think that in itself is something to celebrate. And it happened because of our community, staff, refugee and immigrant farmers, and we'll keep doing it. Next slide. There are so many ways to become a farm share member. You can Google Fresh Start Farm, sign up to volunteer, run the Spruce Street Market or mobile market, connect us with the land access in or around Concord is something we are exploring now. Support our food access work, donate to our food fund to provide new Americans with cultural appropriate food when they first arrive. Especially this time it's so needed, given the number of refugees to be resettled has been increased by the new administration. We do anticipate a lot of refugee arrivals in the next couple of years. So more than ever, I think this is a time when we have to get ready for new arrivals. I think given now that the previous refugees and immigrants who have been here for longer 5 years are in a position established themselves, and the work that we did had prepared them to become a little bit more self-sufficient to be independent on their own, I think will give us an opportunity to help those that will be coming in the next couple of years. Next slide. It's a Fresh Start Farm logo, ORIS, and that's our website. And I appreciate the time to speak with you, and be happy to answer questions that you may have.
Great. Thank you so much, Mukhtar. I'm going to stop sharing your screen. That was a wonderful presentation, so inspiring. And I think that, give me a second here. We have some questions. Here we are. Okay, great. So we have a question from Becky. Asks if there are any plans for distribution in the North Country.
Yes, for 2021, because of our expanded ability of all the things that we mentioned, the ability for us to own a van, pickup truck, and cargo van, refrigerated truck, the additional mobile walk-in cooler in the food hub operation, we're hoping that we can go further north, which we did a little bit last year, but not as far as the north. So that would be an option for this year.
That's great.
And we actually had more market on the north last year than we did on the south. So we'd be more friendly on the north side than we would be on the south, even though I live on the south.
That's great. Emma asked, what dish did you say the woman who was looking to start a food truck is making and selling?
So Batulo is right now has half an acre of land in the Concord. Has been in the program for 3 years. She actually is just owned her first home in 2020. Not all from farm sales, but I think that shows how the future she's expecting to have in the community. So she lives not too far from Concord, actually. She, in her business plan, she wants to be a full-time, she wants to make the same income she's making out of her full-time employment from the farm, including if she can do the food truck. So her husband and her have a goal of about $2,000 to $4,000 a month as a household income just from the food hub, the food truck and the farming business. So, so that's something that she's exploring. But before the truck, last year, Batulo has made $3,800 net income after her farm business expenses, and that does not include any sales through a food truck because she doesn't have the food truck yet. And that's with her being a full-time employed, her husband part-time, and still farming together. She thinks if they both had to focus on farm business and had a food truck, that she's able to make livable income through that program. She's actually now taking a list of people who may be interested, restaurants that actually have expressed they will order food if they have a workshop or events where they have to give out food to their participants. So she's very a vision woman, and we want to do whatever we can to help her achieve her goal.
Thank you. Excuse me. Ellen asked, would you think of partnering with public schools, colleges, or private schools north of Concord, like Holderness, Proctor, Tilton, and Plymouth State University?
Yeah, we actually have a conversation with both Concord District School and Manchester District School. We just had applied the Farm to School project as a pilot project. If funded, we want to do a study about a potential partnership with the schools. In that last year, we had a contract with the Manchester School District, which allowed us to sell up to $10,000 to the school district. We want to establish the same relationship with the Concord. We've been having conversation. They've given us support on applying the farm to school project. But yes, definitely we will explore partnership with the North schools, starting with the Concord District School and then moving up there. We do have an office space in Concord, so we engage in that community. The new African American office space now become ORIS space. We have a full-time program manager and part-time youth program manager that we just hired in Concord. So that's a community that we want to engage, and we will do whatever we can to explore a potential partnership with the north part of the state.
Wonderful, thank you. And Robert asked, would you share how farmers are being selected or matched to farm?
Yes, so we have an intake process. ORIS does not just do farming program. We have case management. We have about 5 bilingual staff. People work with families outside of the farm program. An example, we have health families, which is an OVW, violence against women grant, which is to address domestic violence issues within our refugee and immigrants program. It's a culturally appropriate program. A lot of people from refugee and immigrants didn't want us to call that as domestic violence prevention because they don't like the word domestic violence. So we call it health families. The goal being keeping families together to the extent we can, unless there was a risk of one person's life being in danger, then we have to respond to that. So the Health Families Program, bilingual advocate, when they do an assessment, one of the things they will ask family is what needs exist in the household, whether it's employment, is there a youth that is having challenges? Do they need job for their youth? Is there any person with experience in farming? Are they aware of whether ORIS has a farm program? In that context, people will express different opinions. Some will say, we just need a full-time job, I'm fine. Some will say, okay, I'm having issue with my teenager. Can you connect him to a program in the state? Some will say, yeah, I love farming. Is there any farm program? So in that context, staff will make a list of all the individuals who expressed farming. Then we have the option of during the season, we will host workshops both in Manchester, Concord, and Nashua. We will invite people who have expressed interest in farming to come to the workshop. In the workshop, we'll go over all the basic training skills, farming in New England, what is expected of individual farmer, what ORIS can provide and cannot provide. Based on that, if we had about 100 signups in the program, you will see that list narrowed down based on availability of schedule, if there was a childcare need, in any time availability, and then we'll do that in the schedule an individual intake form with our culture program. Then there is an option whether you want to do community garden, only food for your family, or you want to do a marketing farm program, which also is a much more advanced farming program that we have. Based on the capacity of land access we have, then we will prioritize those individuals. But it's a long process in general.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ruth asked 2 questions, one for you and one for NOFA. So she asked, are farmers looking for farms in New Hampshire? And also, does NOFA match farmers to farms? NOFA has not been matching farmers to farms, but we'd love to hear how ORIS is doing that.
Yeah, so so we have 2 groups of farmers. There are farmers who don't have access to transportation or maybe having one vehicle for the whole family. We would like to keep those closer to home, where they can use their neighbors or they can couple together. The Manchester farmers, the ones that are in Danbury, have been longer at the farm. There are refugees who have been here 6, 7 years. They're more established. They have access to cars. They have their own pickup truck. Can drive up to 30, 40 miles outside of Manchester if there was a permanent access to land. So we will categorize the group based on the availability of resources within those farming group. So we will like more like 30 to 40 miles outside land for Manchester farmers, but closer farm for Concord farmers because they just don't have as much resources as Manchester farmers. They have been here in the US longer as Manchester farmers. They're just beginning farmers, and we want to provide them as much technical assistance as we can to get to the point where they can get land outside of the Concord area.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question. This one's from Sherry. Let's see, that actually was a comment that Sherry is very happy to see your presentation. And I saw some other very nice comments in the comment section as well about people liking your presentation. And let me see here.
Excuse me if I was scared. I haven't done a presentation like this, so I'm so happy to have spoken with you guys.
Yes, it was wonderful, your presentation, and we're still going. This is great. Thank you.
I love talking to a live audience, so this was
yes. Yeah, it's a little different this year, but in the future, hopefully we'll be able to gather again in person. So Sherry has another question.
Okay.
Let's see, she asked, is plant medicine part of your farmers growing on the farms?
Not right now.
And Robert had some other questions as well. So the first one is, could you compare the ORIS model to the model you mentioned in Maine, and what makes the resulting difference?
Yeah, the model in Maine was similar to the model in New Hampshire. We actually adapted the model in Maine. They were more advanced. That model trained refugee and immigrants. I was actually a program coordinator before I become executive director, working with refugee farmers contracted out of cultivating community based in Portland, Maine. Today, there are 14 farmers that graduated from the model in Portland, Maine that live in Lewiston. They're all Somali farmers. They bought their own farm. They have 100 acres of land that they bought on their own. They operate their own food hub. They have their own food truck. They're independent out of cultivating community. A long-time goal for the ORIS is that model where we want to see the Dumbarton farmers at one point buy their own land, create their own food hub to generate income, because we've been providing them the technical assistance, because we believe the model in Maine has been successful. And because of the process in which has trained farmers for 5 years, and after 5 years, 5 to 6 years, farmers graduated, have access to land, so that you open the door for new beginning farmers to come. If you are stuck with only one group for over and over, you block the opportunity for other farmers who may have joined the program if you had the capacity to, not being able to join. So our goal is maybe in the next couple of years, the Dunbarton farmers get the opportunity to integrate on their own. ORIS will provide the ability to facilitate conversation with the landowners, do help with fundraising, advise farmers to save some revenue if they want to buy the farm on their own, using the main model, so that a fellow immigrant people who want to join the program have the opportunity to join. So in one way, they are similar, but Maine is more advanced than the model in New Hampshire, but that's the model we're following actually.
Thank you for explaining that. And I think that maybe we also talked about the program in Maine at an earlier workshop this morning about land access, if people were on that talk earlier. And then there were a couple of other questions here from Robert, who asked if you're aware of other institutions helping new Americans to farm.
Yeah, in New Hampshire, there were few. Uh, Actually, the agents called the Five River in Concord. They facilitate land access conversation. Land for Good has been a great partner, using their skills to get in conversation with the um, landowners around. Our farmers in the past, before COVID-19, attended NOVA conferences, winter conferences, where they have gained a lot of skills in how to grow certain seeds, best practices, crop rotations. Those were very important skills that the farmers had benefited. They are local agencies who have shown an interest in supporting in a variety of ways to the refugee and immigrants farmers. An example, Centria, which is a resettlement agency in Concord, offered a space where if we wanted to do a workshop for refugee farmers in Concord, we could use the space. And that has been great. They sometimes also help if we want applying for funding through the feds to support the initiative. We will do orientation with their new arrivals at their office to see who is, skill set for farming program. So this is just a community effort. I think only ORIS alone would have not been able to accomplish what we have accomplished without the community partnership. So.
Thank you. And you mentioned adding some goats and livestock farming. Is there anything else to share about that?
Yeah, goat is, as I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of East African community utilize goat meat very much. We don't have a venue in New Hampshire. People are going out of state. So we were looking at that project in two aspects. One, demand that exists in the community. Two, it's a revenue generated project if established. Our initial conversation was, we had a conversation, I personally had a conversation with the Community Lawn Fund, New Hampshire Community Lawn Fund. They funded to do an initial feasibility study as to whether or not the Dunbarton site can have a capacity to do a livestock, and what a livestock project, particularly goat, will look like as a business model that can help the individual farmers in. So we just completed that feasibility study a few months ago. It's been analyzed, but I think a goat project will be an add-on to the food hub. The community will be better off by not going 45 miles away to Massachusetts to buy goat. The organization will benefit because this will be, once you get the first initial investment, it has the potential to sustain because there's demand, there's no competition, there's no similar goat project we're exploring available in New Hampshire. If it is, not one that is available to the refugee and immigrants community. So there's no competition. The market exists. I think that would be a project that will support not only the community, but the Fresh Start Farm, the organization as a whole, and in general, everyone will benefit. So we're very seriously considering that a live goat project be established in the Dunbarton site, now that we own that site. There was also a talk about developing a multifamily household. According to the regulation in Dunbarton, we don't have to seek for zoning because they allow up to 3 multifamily house in the space we have in Dunbarton. One of the discussion, if we were to have a goat project there, you require to have someone on site. One of the discussion was maybe build two family household buildings there over in a reduced subsidized lease to individual farmers. So farmers will live there to farm, but at the same time, they'll be overseeing our goat project at the farm. It's a complex arrangement of project. It's one that I think I'm taking very seriously in the next year or so to see if it's possible to be done, do it.
Wonderful. That sounds great. We look forward to hearing how that happens or how that works out. And someone asked, actually, Ruth asked us kind of similar question about what you just touched on, but if transportation is an issue, do farmers need housing at the farms?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons, I think the Dunbarton farmers transportation right now isn't an issue as it is for the Concord farmers. But the reason why they will need housing in the Concord area is there are an interest within the Dunbarton farmers for farmers to become a full-time farm business farmers, that they want to spend more time at the farm. That if they were living there, they will be having more time at the farm. They can establish more expanded farm businesses, including being part of the goat, and that that could be a change in life than just driving all the way to Dunbarton every single day. So that could be helpful. Where we need some kind of transportation, if we were to find a land access in the Concord area, is for the Concord farmers who are not yet fully equipped with transportation. They have been here in the county for 2 to 3 years ago. They're just starting to integrate into the society. The St. Paul School farm isn't large enough to meet their demand. If we were to get a bigger land, then the transportation becomes an issue. If there were housing in that farm, then you will see more interest within those farmers to live there so they can focus on farming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ellen first had a nice comment and said she thinks ORIS is a model that many new American farmers and other farm training programs can learn from, and asks, do the farmers save their heirloom seeds of the vegetables that are from Somalia and the Congo? And if so, would you sell the seeds as part of your business if there's extra?
So we discussed that with the farmers as a model of generating that can be one of the few things that they are doing to generate income. We have not seen them sell seeds until now, but it's something that we thought is important. They do save some seeds from their own country for the next season, actually out of the farm. So when they harvest at the end of the season, some of the seeds are saved for the next year and they grow it so they don't have to spend money buying. Some actually are shipped seeds from their own country. So I saw buckets of seeds coming from Congo to the United States. So so that would be one thing to consider for individual farmers, because as you expand your farm businesses, you have to include all elements in which is in line with your farm business that can bring some revenue. And if that includes saving seed to sell it, so be it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have a comment that I'd like to share from Paul and Denise Pulio, who did a presentation yesterday on Indigenous foodways. And they've said that they're working on developing a BIPOC organic farming network and have a few farms who are interested in hosting farmers. If you have farmers looking for land access, they'd love to talk. So we'll get you connected.
Sure.
Yes. And Ruth also asked if you're interested in sheep, you can contact her.
I will.
Thank you.
I was actually just in Lewiston, Maine over the weekend to buy cow, and I saw a couple of sheep there that I loved how they were behaving. So I'll definitely be in touch with her.
That sounds great. We'll connect you. Yeah, well, I actually had two questions, and then if there are other questions we can ask, that's the end of the questions in the chat right now. But you told us about so many great programs that ORIS is doing, and I had another one that I was wondering about, which is if you could share more information about the New American Sustainable Agriculture Project.
So the New American Sustainable Agriculture project sometimes becomes confusing between the Fresh Start Farm and the New American. So the NISAP, which is New American Sustainable Ag Program project, is the farm program, the name for the farm program under the ORIS. That's our training farm program. That's the program that gets funding, receives funding from USDA to train the beginning farmer for the farming and marketing and community gardening. The Fresh Start Farm is the brand that is used under the NISAP program. We are now doing a strategic planning to restructure the NISAP as an operational farm program separate from the Fresh Start Farm, which will operate under the Food Hub, because the Food Hub in it itself is called Fresh Start Farm Food Hub now. So they will now become two separate programs, but it's still the farmers trained under the NISAP who have access to land and marketing will be marketing their produce under the Fresh Start Farm Food Hub. So Fresh Start Farm is the training program that trains our farmers both in Dunbarton and Concord.
Great, thank you for explaining that. And yesterday also we had a workshop about the food hub networks in New Hampshire, and ORIS Fresh Start Farms were mentioned. So that will all be in your packet of videos that everyone will get if you weren't able to attend that. So you could learn more about the Food Hubs network and how Fresh Start Farms fits into that in New Hampshire. Yeah. And then my other question for you about ORIS programs was if you could explain a little bit about the New American Farmers Cooperative, if that's different.
Yeah, the New American Farmers Cooperative was established by the farmers that are using in Dunbarton. There were 9 farmers. They wanted to do a co-op farming institution to do a training from CDI. We had a contract with CDI that wanted those farmers move independently out of the NISA program using similar model that has been done in Maine. So when they use that brand to institute, they have their own president and vice president and board chair and treasury. They will sell as a group. They will order seeds as a co-op, but it's under the Fresh Start Farm. So we were trying to legalize them as an institution operating as co-op. It did not go to where we wanted it to go because of the skill set required to be a co-op. And individual immigrants are not yet there to exercise some of the responsibility assigned to, an example, the vice chair or the chair. How is decision made? Sometimes we saw when they made as a board and they make a decision, nobody follows up. So we currently are trying to integrate that into the Fresh Start Farm Food Hub. They will still be the same group, will be trained as co-op farmers, but they just don't have that legal name registered in the state used as a co-op institution. They will do everything as what co-op institution would have done, but are not co-op yet. So that was a name that we were using in the past to train individual farmers. So maybe once we feel confident that they can take responsibility, we'll use the same name, or we be a part of one of the things we haven't figured out is how will Fresh Start Farm Food Hub be managed, whether it would be taken by the farmers long time, or it would be an entity under ORIS and will support the farmers. We're figuring that out now. So it will depend on how that structure is set up, whether or not those individual farmers will use that New American co-op farm. But it's a name also from Maine. I had to say everything is from Maine, but it is.
Thank you. That's great. We're happy to learn about all the awesome programs you have. So Laura has a question.
Yeah.
She says that Laura is also curious about the level of state support that ORIS is receiving from foundations and government agencies. It sounds like ORIS has received a lot of federal funding and support, and she's curious about the level of receptivity and funding from state agencies.
So we've been grateful for some support from the foundations in the New Hampshire, particularly New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, the Children's Health Foundation, who has supported our mobile market program from the beginning until now. As far as the state, I think our state doesn't have as much flexible in revenue because of we don't have state tax. We actually Massachusetts, when you take a look at Massachusetts, a lot of the programs are supported by the state local government. An example, there is a program which is a federal program that is funded through the state, and then the state gives out into the local organization. A couple of years we got it, but it was small money. Especially the crop grant, which is managed by the state, but it's a federal. If you look at amount of money that Massachusetts farmers, particularly those that are beginning farmers, receive compared to the New Hampshire, it's day and night. But it's our state. We have to work with what we have. A lot of community support have been there. Like St. Paul school kids fundraise every year for the refugee immigrant farmers. They send a couple $1,000. That's a great community support. A lot of foundations love, especially we've received a very positive feedback on the role we played to access to food during the COVID-19 for 2019. The role that the organization played, access to food, has been a major conversation in our state. A lot of stakeholders have been discussing about that, and the way that ORIS played a role in partnership with community has been amazing. And we were receiving good feedback about that, and people who were making some donations to expand that program until we can. So not much support. I think the only support that the state has been given to the organization was discretionary funding that I mentioned earlier, which supports case management when refugees come. Their 90 days proportion is taken at the resettlement agencies. Then ethnic community-based organizations like us, Bhutanese Community Association, another organization in Concord, do the secondary services where we will find people job. So Office of Refugee Resettlement at a national level has been funding the state refugee coordinator in New Hampshire to provide discretionary funding to organizations like ORIS, PCNH, Congolese community, to support their own communities. But that funding went away when the refugee numbers went from 100,000 a year to 15,000 a year. And even within those 15,000 a year in 2020, we've only brought in what, like 11,000. And if you compare that, how much refugees will come to New Hampshire looking at Texas and California, we were the lowest number in the line. So those fundings have cut. We hope that will come back, because that had a lot of impact in our population. The goal is to get people off social services and bring them to self-sufficient. The way to do that is you can help people get access to employment, enroll them to the agriculture program, help after school program. A lot of refugee kids come here, are enrolled in a school based on age. Some have challenging, because we have people who are 14 that have never been in elementary or middle school in the refugee camp, coming here were brought to central school and they have no idea where to start. So some of those discretionary funding has been helping us work with those kids, and that has just been eliminated. So hopefully that will come back.
Thank you. Thank you. We have another question from Laura, which is, if you send out recipes for vegetables that may be new to some CSA customers, like African eggplant or bitter melon.
Yeah, we do. We have a description of each ethnic crops in a flyer, which describes the name of the crop, which country it came from, how it is used, how to cook, expectation of test, because some of us have already tested it, and the customers will be able to understand that before they will be able to see it in our website before they order, so they know a background of each crop that they're buying before they buy, and then we'll include receipts in the package when we deliver food to them.
That's
for
great.
for only those that are not immigrants. The immigrants know. So if you are selling it in the Congolese community, you don't need to explain what eggplant is. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you. That makes sense. And then we have one more follow-up question about funding, which is a curiosity about the two big Hanford checks behind you.
Yeah. They have been a great partner. They've been very great partner, Hanford. Until now, they've been the first check helped us. Actually, they participated in the purchase of the Danberton farm. The couple offered in a discounted rate. The value of the property was 180,000. We only paid 90,000. That was generous of them. And we were short by 6,000 when we were making the purchase, and Hanford just came out and said they wanted to make the deal and gave us 30,000. 6,000 of that was going to the close out of the purchase of the Danberton site, and then the rest was going into supporting the farmers. So they've been supporting us. They also give us money this year to help train our people on record keeping, because we tried to become organic certified. In order for us to sell to Hanford, stores like Hanford, you have to be practice organic certification, and in that it includes a very record keeping structure established within the farmers, and a lot of immigrants have challenging in that. So they supported us to do a training for specific farmers just for record keeping, for them to qualify to become organic certified, so we can open the markets for them to sell to the Hanford. So we appreciate their support. They've been great partners, and one of our board members is actually a store manager in Portford, Hanford supermarket, and we appreciate their support. Yeah.
Thank you. So is ORIS working on becoming organic certified, or Fresh Start Farms, I mean?
Fresh Start Farm, yeah. We looked at that. I think there are opportunities. The downside is it's challenging for refugee and immigrant farmers to go that process of record keeping and staying in compliance. But on the other hand, we have seen a lot of, an example, if we were to sell to the Manchester School District, if we wanted a contract to more than 10,000, then we have to participate in a bid, which they have to do according to their policy. In order to do that, you got to show you're organic certified. Hanford has given us an opportunity to sell, but we can't. So there was an interest among some farmers that were ready. The question becomes then whether the Fresh Start Farm can become as organic certified program in itself, or can we do it with individual farmers startup? Because not all the farmers will be able to maintain that compliance. So a very good conversation happening now, but we are interested in.
That's great, thank you. And we're almost at 5:45, so I was gonna.
No way, I'm enjoying the conversation. So.
That's great. Me too. I hope everyone is. I'm going to pull up a screen in a second, but I wanted to see if you had anything else you wanted to share before we depart.
No, we appreciate, I really appreciate the opportunity, and Nova's thinking about how valuable our presentation, Fresh Start Farm, the farmers it works with, ORIS in general, was to their audience in this winter conference. So thank you for thinking about us. I hope that the participants have gained some experience from my presentation, and we will be available for inquiry. If you wanted to email me, I'll be happy to. And hopefully, maybe next winter conference, we'll have an immigrant farmer who's established well to speak in one of the sessions. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to put a couple of links in the chat before I shared my screen. But the first one I wanted to put in was a link to ORIS. And as Mukhtar mentioned earlier, I'm sure donations are welcome. You can follow ORIS on social media and continue to stay connected. And then we have just a couple of other links to share from NOFA New Hampshire.
And Mukhtar, while Nikki is posting those links,
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today and for coming to our conference. We can't wait to meet you in person and hope to have, a deeper relationship going forward. I don't think I've ever seen so many positive comments in the chat box. So thank you for sharing your stories and your pictures and your experiences. And thank you so much to our members and to our guests who have attended. You stuck it through to the end of the 2-day winter conference. I myself enjoyed learning so much and hope you did too. And, next year we'll be back again in person with that live music and that delicious catered organic lunch. So just stay tuned. Enjoy the spring and happy growing season to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And one final thank you to Nikki and Chadley and Laura, who have made this entire conference possible. So thank you so much, the Kolb family, Nikki and Chadley and Laura Angers. This really went off seamlessly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you, Mukhtar, for sharing all of your knowledge and experience with us and the great work of ORIS. As I said, your presentation was wonderful and this discussion was so vibrant. And I want to thank all of our guests for all of your questions and engagement during this session and throughout our entire conference. Again, we know it was different and we really appreciate you staying with us and being here. The weekend has really flown by. And I also wanted to just thank again all of our speakers, our sponsors, exhibitors, our staff, our board members for all your support. And of course, all of you, our attendees, again, thank you for being here and making this such an inspiring and memorable conference for us. And thank you for joining us in kicking off our 50th year. Thank you to our members, and we welcome you to deepen your connection within our community by becoming a member in 2021 if you're not a member yet. And I pasted some final links again to the exhibitor fair, our bookstore, and our program booklet into the chat. Those will be available all year long for you to access. And I also put some information about our bulk order program and organic gardening series. And we will be in touch with all of your conference recordings. We're expecting them to be available in a week or so. So stay tuned for an email from us. And of course, please reach out at any point if you have questions. And thank you again for a wonderful conference.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Good night, everyone.